So now we'll go to Michigan State, represented by a few people. First of which is going to be my good friend David here. You might recognize him from the channel before. Glad to have him back on here. And I just thought basically the whole premise would be to invite different teams on here and get their take and their expectations for different fans. Because I know even in the Michigan fan base, I'll have some people on later in the video that probably disagree with what I think. So, David, what are some opening thoughts on Michigan State? What are some expectations, things like that?
Expectations, I'm not keeping them very high at all, to be honest. I mean, coming off a 5-7 season, I think it's a point where we need to improve from that. Whether it's winning 7 games or 8 games, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I know there's some people out there that think we can win 9 or 10. I don't think that's the case. I think 7 or 8 is a good benchmark to go off of, and I think Mel is not on the hot seat, but he's definitely under a microscope here as he's kept a lot of his coordinators on, and um, for better or for worse, we'll see how that goes this year.
I guess you could say hot
Hopefully, he
seat
doesn't follow
adjacent.
D'Antonio's footsteps.
Yeah, for sure. So now, when you say 8 or 9 wins, I guess we just kind of go game by game here. We can just kind of talk about it. First of all, do you have an opinion on your starting quarterback? Do you trust everyone that goes on there? And I don't know if they've
I
officially
mean,
named.
everyone's saying Noah Kim right now. I
Yeah.
think that's probably the safe bet is that Kim will start, but I think that Hauser is going to get reps every game, regardless of if Kim's starting or
I like,
not. I mean,
yeah.
I think that's kind of where people's heads are at too, is that Hauser's not going to be neglected. I mean, he's a 4-star sophomore, and you don't want him hitting the portal after this year. That would be a bad look.
Yeah, for sure. I know that he came in and Kim did against Ohio State last year at the end and was it slinging it. I think he got a touchdown or two, but he was playing pretty well. So starting off Friday night on Fox Sports 1, we've got the Central Michigan Chippewas. Now, I mean, I would assume this is going to be a win. I don't think there's much to really worry about here.
Um, I'd like to think it's going to be an easy win, but that's a tough game. I mean, they're a good team. They're projected to be up there contending for the MAC this year. So I'm not saying that that's, a definitive win. It's going to be, I mean, what are we favored by 14 and a half, 15 right now, I think,
Yeah,
around
I
there.
mean, Central Michigan's going to be their Super Bowl, right? Playing an in-state team. Obviously, they've done it in the past against Michigan State. They've beaten them a few times, and
They
they've got
have.
yeah, they've got a
I
pretty
think the
good
last time
quarterback.
they beat State, actually, they won the MAC too, which is crazy. It was
Yeah,
like
I think
2009.
they won two in a row against Michigan State, and then I know they've lost a few since, but then up next we've got the Richmond Spiders at 3:30 on Big Ten Network.
That
Again,
should be a win.
yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
think
if
it's
if
much to
if
worry about.
we drop a game to the Richmond Spiders, I mean, I won't be tuning into Michigan State probably for the remainder of the season if
Yeah,
that's the case.
the season starts in November with basketball.
Yes.
But yeah, I've been joking for a long time. The funny thing for Michigan State would be to lose to Richmond or Central and then beat Washington. But up next, you've got Washington. Speaking of the devil, number 10, Washington, on 5 o'clock on Peacock. This is we need to make sure Michigan State people buy Peacock game. Every team's got one so far.
Yes.
Michigan week 1. But what are your thoughts on this game?
I think it's going to be a really, really tough game. I mean, at home, Spartan Stadium, it's a 5 o'clock game, so I guess under the lights ish. Um, Peacock as well, so I guess national broadcast ish again, sort
Yeah.
of. But I think it's going to be a really tough game. I mean, Michael Penix is a great quarterback. Washington's defense is very, very stout as far as the Pac-12 goes, and I mean their pass attack is vicious, and I mean they can stretch out the field. And Michigan State secondary is a big, big, big question mark. So I think that's going to determine um, the outlook of that game is kind of going to determine how we do in the Big Ten against these other great passing attacks like Michigan and Ohio State and Maryland. So
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's a bit of a gauntlet,
yes,
your schedule here, and I mean, I'm big on Washington personally this year, and I mean, I think Washington's going to obliterate Michigan State. Unfortunately, I mean, again, it's you have a guy that led the nation in passing last year. He had better stats than Caleb Williams. He has two pro receivers, and again, there's some good defensive front action there. If Michigan State can have any push up front and run the ball on them and kind of close the game down, it could get close because well, I mean, we saw last year Washington was up $1 billion in the first half, and then Michigan State got rolling, was able to start to sling it on them. So, their D line's good, but their secondary is just as bad as Michigan State. So again, this game could get turned to a track meet, but I don't know if Michigan State has
I
the
think so
horses to
too.
do it. But this would be the type of game where if you had a top 10 win at home, this would be
It'd be
a
huge.
landmark game for Mel Tucker. It'd be a second biggest win behind Michigan, 2 seasons ago. So
Yeah,
then
definitely.
in comes the Terrapins of Maryland, 3:30. What are your thoughts on this one, man? I know you've had trouble with Maryland in the past.
We've had trouble with Maryland in the past, but I think that, I mean, there's a lot of games that we should win this year, or that, are, I mean, you look at Maryland, you look at Rutgers, and you look at Minnesota, and I think all of those games are winnable. I mean, a lot of our Big Ten matchups are winnable besides Michigan, Iowa, and Ohio State. It's just whether we come out and play well, and make field goals, um, are able to punt the ball when we need to. Just very, very, um, things that might seem minute that could determine the game. But I think we should beat Maryland this year. So
All righty. So we're
I'll chalk that one.
sitting at 3-1. You did just mention this would be a game you would lose at Iowa to end September.
Yeah.
Quite a
I
run
don't
there,
think we'll
man.
I
Washington,
don't think we'll
Maryland,
beat
and at
Iowa.
Iowa.
No,
Yeah.
I would chalk Iowa up as an L, especially at Iowa.
Yeah.
They're good this year too.
They've got a competent offense for the first time in seemingly forever, and they've got that still pretty elite defense. So I would
Yes.
agree on that one as well. Then you get a bye week. Hopefully you win that game. After that, we've got at Rutgers on October 14th at noon. So this
I
one
think this is a
be
bit of a
tricky.
trap game here, the Rutgers game.
Week before
I'm gonna,
Michigan.
yeah, I'm gonna say that we lose this game, just because you have to have one of those typical Spartan losses before we lose to Michigan again this year. So I think we go loss and then loss to Michigan again.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you lose to Rutgers, I'd be terrified as a Michigan fan. That'd be
Yeah,
Michigan State usually has those things again. Like if you lose Central Michigan, Richmond, I would take you to beat Washington. If you lose against Rutgers, I'm definitely taking against the spread against us. But we'll kind of skip over the Michigan game as well. Then after that game is at Minnesota. PJ Fleck is rowing the boat. Now you guys have had this thing the last 2 seasons now, including last year, obviously, where after the Michigan game you have a really tough road game that you just somehow win, like the Illinois
that's
game.
what I was gonna say.
You
I think
know,
we win this game. I think we
I would
drop
agree.
two to Rutgers and Michigan. I think we somehow pull out a win at Minnesota.
I completely agree with you. Everyone's chalking that up as a loss. I disagree. And then November 4th at home against Nebraska, Jeff Sims and the new regime over there are trying to do what they can. I don't know. I think this should be a comfortable win. I don't know how you feel about this one.
I think it should be a comfortable win too. I'm comfortable saying we can beat Nebraska. As funny
Uh,
as that may sound coming
no,
from
I know. Hey, listen, I've been there before, man. Listen,
yeah,
Michigan, more recently Michigan State, we've been there. So
yeah.
then next is the big bully on the block, Ohio State, that for some reason loves nothing more than to embarrass Michigan State. It's kind of nuts. I don't know what the deal is. I guess it's because you guys beat them more than we have outside the last 2 years recently. This is a night game under the lights on NBC, and Ohio State's wearing their special jerseys for this game. So again, I don't know if someone at Michigan State took one of their girls or something, but Lord knows
Yeah.
they're just gonna do what they can to obliterate you guys.
Yeah, I think this is a game that we are definitely going to lose. I mean, Ohio State's uh built to really beat us this year. I mean, they're built to beat a lot of teams this year, but especially us.
Yeah. After that, you've got revenge for the spittoon game in one of the more horrific losses I've ever seen last season at Indiana on the 18th of November.
Now, Indiana is a sneaky matchup this year, because they could be, right around the same win total as we are heading into this game. So I think it's another sort of toss up, but I think we end up beating Indiana in this game.
I would agree too, and for your mental sake, I would really hope so as well. So at right now, I think that's what
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins. So Michigan State be 6-5 heading into Ford Field for a showdown against number 7 as of now. Penn State, 7:30, Black Friday, NBC, Ford Field. The pride of Detroit will be surrounding the Spartan Nation. What will the outcome be?
Now, until I get proven otherwise, after I have to watch a couple games, I just have to say this is going to be a loss because Penn State is just looking terrifying this year. I mean, nationally and in the Big Ten. Um, their defense is arguably one of the top 5 in the country, I think. And their run game is looking pretty scary this year too. I don't even know who are they starting at quarterback this year.
Drew Aller is his name. He is a former 5-star of Ohio. People are really hyping him up. He's I don't even know who was a good hot freshman last year, but he's getting a lot of love. And a lot of people are picking Penn State to win the conference solely off of him being the quarterback as opposed to Sean Clifford. So people are really high on him. And I know they've got, this probably the second best 1-2 backfield in the country behind Michigan. Creighton Allen and Nick Singleton are an absolute problem. They've got pros on both lines. If there's a year for Penn State to do it, it's this year. But, as long as they've got Franklin head coach, Harbaugh finally beat those big game allegations and rivalries. And Franklin really hasn't. And I've been on record saying I think Michigan State wins this game as like a statement. Mel Tucker, gets off the hot seat.
At Ford Field, probably packed with Michigan State fans.
This game's usually a whiteout, not like them rooting for a whiteout. Usually it's snowy and it's disgusting, and both teams are like, disappointed. Michigan State's bad, and Penn State's like third again. And it's like, I don't know, man. I think this is like Mel Tucker in Detroit in front of the national media. I think this is like one of those statement games he wins, and it screws the program long term potentially. That's just the pessimistic Detroit fan in me.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say that they'll beat Penn State too. I just have to see a sample size. Right now, I can't be going off on a whim saying we'll beat any of our ranked opponents right now.
No, I listen, I understand. And listen, Michigan's been there again more recently than I like to admit. So I believe that would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-6 season, which would be hitting the over. That's a plus money over.
Maybe sneaking into a bowl game.
Oh, yeah, 6 wins is a bowl game for sure.
Yes.
Hopefully it's not back at Ford Field in the Quick Lane Bowl, but I would imagine it'd be a bigger draw as Michigan State would travel and things like that. But any other players of note that stick out to you? Any things that at me as a Michigan fan I'm missing for this Michigan State team? Something that's like an X factor or anything like that?
I don't know. As far as our offense goes, I mean, pretty standard. I mean, we lost a lot of guys. Obviously, Trey Mosley's coming back. I think he's going to be a huge weapon on offense. Jalen Berger is back. I mean, he was supposed to be better than he played last year, transferring from Wisconsin. I think Nathan Carter gets the job as the first as our RB1. So I think him and Berger will probably split reps. I think our tight end room is pretty strong with Malik Carr and Tyneal Hopper. I think our tight end room is very strong. So as far as running the ball goes, our tight ends blocking and passing, I think it's going to improve a lot. Our offensive line, I think, is going to be a lot better than we were last year. That was a huge weakness.
Hard not to, man. That was tough. That might be even part of the problem with Berger is how bad that line was.
Yeah, our line was terrible last year. So we're bringing back a couple of the seniors that were good. They'll probably start, and then some transfers and some younger guys getting some opportunities too. So I like the way that our offensive line's looking. Defensive line looks pretty solid too. I like Simeon Barrow a lot. Dre Butler solid too. I think those two guys, and Alex Van Sumeren as well. I think those three will probably lead our team in sacks. And yeah, Jacoby Windman, he's going to be pretty good as well this year coming back. So, I mean, just a lot of depth coming back. Cal Halliday's coming back.
He's wearing gloves, I saw.
Yes, finally wearing gloves. Angelo Gross will be coming back. I mean, just a lot of talent coming back, which is good. And some of the younger guys getting some opportunity that Mel actually recruited too. So it's, I mean, sort of like a paradigm shift. Obviously, Mel had that first uh, really, really good season with some of D'Antonio's guys, and it was a down year. So now we're going to see if some of the guys that Mel recruited and gotten into our program will be able to step up a bit, and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
I'm
Well,
expecting a lot of sophomores and freshmen to get a lot of reps this year,
yeah, sounds like maybe a
especially
bit of a rebuilding
sophomores.
year, but yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean Dylan Tatum as well. I think he'll probably start at safety. I think that's going to be a huge kid to watch is uh, Dylan Tatum.
Yeah. So that's what we got from Michigan State, 6-6. Again, personally, I have them, again, anywhere from 5 wins to 8 wins. I don't think there's much in between. If this team gets the ball rolling early, they could stay hot. I mean, I've had a lot of Michigan State fans tell me they really could see this team being 5-1, 6-0 heading into the Michigan game. I don't see it as much, but
I
it
don't
is
see
tough.
that.
It is tough with your crossover games and playing a lot of Big Ten teams. But then again, Michigan State, upsets happen, man. I mean, the last time you guys had this low win total was the Kenneth Walker year, and y'all went 11-2. So anything
Definitely.
is possible, man. And
We're
that's what people
playing you
always
guys
forget.
early this year too,
A week
aren't
earlier
we?
than usual,
Yeah, a
yeah,
week earlier than normal. I was just looking at that, October 21st, because normally we play you that Halloween
yeah,
weekend or
yeah. So
weekday, that Friday.
but yeah, it's people love to forget in the off season that things happen. Like again, TCU was supposed to have 4 wins last year, and they went undefeated and found themselves in the national championship game. So anything is possible, as Kevin Garnett would say. So thank you for
Yes.
hopping on, David. We'll get you
Thanks
again
for
on
having me.
soon for some more Lion stuff and some more Piston stuff. But had to get one of Michigan State's guys on here for sure and see how it goes.
Yes, sir. All right,
Alrighty,
Blake, take care,
yeah,
man. Thanks for having me on.
no worries. See ya.
Peace, bro.
And here we have another Michigan State fan. You might remember Alex from the old hockey rundown we did from a while back. He had, I believe, the best takes by the other three by far. So, yeah, Alex, welcome back. And just basically be similar to what we've been doing with the other guys. We'll just do a quick little rundown of the schedule, get his takes, players, and overall feeling of the program, things like that, because it's easy for me to look on the outside and not have to deal with it and the inside. So, upcoming, we have the this Friday, actually we have Central Michigan, 7 o'clock, Fox Sports 1. How we feeling?
I think we feel good. We're feeling good. Night game at home to open up the season. After looking for a bounce back statement game, the way I look at it. I think you take the spread plus 14.5, if we can promote that betting. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I feel good.
All right, yeah, that's been the consensus pretty much all over. I mean, it should be simple. I mean, I'd imagine same thing for Richmond as well. The following week, 3:30, Big Ten Network, another nationally televised afternoon game. So no noon games yet, which is nice for the students.
Yeah, well, we drink early here, so it's fine.
Exactly, but hey, at least it's not too nuts. So, but yeah, Richmond, I'm sure you're not worried about the Spiders this year.
No, 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 no.
And then, yeah, we'll move quickly along to the big game, Saturday, September 16th, nationally televised on the Peacock. This is the every team has one this year. It's the big game you play on Peacock to make sure all your fans buy it. The Washington Huskies come to town. Michael Penix, the Reclamated Project from Indiana. How are we feeling on this one? This could
This
get
one, yeah, this one's a scary circle on the calendar. I will be going to this game, so hopefully it has a good outcome. I mean, it's just the secondary has quite a few question marks, and Washington is going to be a good team this year. So I don't know. I haven't looked at the lines on it, or I guess it also depends on how we're playing going in. But yeah, I mean, you gotta keep this one close, but it's an early test, which I like. Non-conference, we MSU likes to test himself at non-conference games. Michigan doesn't really know about that, so.
nope.
But I think that's changing too. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think it's a chance to prove yourself early on. I mean, that's gonna kind of, and the way I look at it is that game defies kind of how the season's gonna go. If you make it a close game, I mean, even a close loss is like it's fine. It just shows that like we're battling out there. But if you just go out there and you look like it's just not even a football team, I mean, it's just gonna be hard to regroup and go back week after week, especially this Big Ten schedule.
Yeah, like I know last year the game looked bad on paper. I mean, I think you guys came in as a favorite, but when you look back at how good Washington ended up being, the fact that you guys fought back in that game, I mean, that was Keon Coleman was on God mode last time, but the spread I believe right now is about 12 in favor of Washington. So I know against the spread wouldn't matter for you guys in the stands and stadium. I'm not outside your pocketbooks, but nationally keeping it close against Washington, I think would be a pretty good statement because I mean the secondary is bad and they've got two pros at receiver, in addition to Penix, who's a lot of people's Heisman picks, including myself. I mean, he led the league last year in passing yards. So again, I mean, if you pull this upset off, it would be, a season-defining win. Everything's back on the table. And I mean, who knows how far you can go from there. I think it's a lot more likely upset now looking at how week 0 went. Because looking at week 0, games just get away from people. Comebacks were almost not a thing. I mean, if you establish the run early, you go up 7-0. It can, drives are instead of like 5-6 minutes, drives are 8-9 minutes now. You string together 2 long running drives in that game, it's boom, it's over. They're gonna be throwing the ball quick. So if you guys just get the lead and sit on it and let Nathan Carter and Berger go crazy, I could definitely see it. So we'll toss it up as a toss up for now. Next week, though, at home, another trap game, I would say here. Maryland at home, 3:30 again, another afternoon game. No TV listed, but I assume it's be Big Ten Network. So how are we feeling about Loxley's Turtles coming into town?
This one is also kind of like it's more of a test. Depending on how Washington goes, the way I look at it. I think if we the same time as if we somehow pull up upset in Washington, you can't overlook Maryland. So I think it's gonna be another tough game for us. I think we do pull it out. I mean, I'm trying to be more optimistic on these games, and because you got OSU, Michigan, still on Penn State on that schedule. So you gotta, if you want to have a successful season, you gotta put away Maryland. You gotta put away those teams. So I'm gonna go with a win, but we gotta see how Washington goes and that kind of the mood going in.
Yeah, great point. You look at these teams, and Maryland's kind of a Washington light. I mean, they got a way worse defense in the trenches, but they're kind of those teams just slinging all over the field. I mean, last year, that's all they did. They would just throw it deep and either be pass interference or it'd be a touchdown. And it's very annoying to play against, one of the dumbest teams to try to defend against. But again, if you slow Washington down, or even if you don't slow Washington down, if Washington just torches you, it would be a good week in practice, a lot of stuff on film, and you're going against everything is worse on Maryland than it is to Washington. So it's a good spot there. Now, quickly going back to the Washington game, because it just came to me just now. That's going to be a conference game next year. What's your overall opinions on conference expansion? Have we lost cabin pressure yet?
I mean, I got two thoughts. I do like the tradition in college football. Like, for example, I think 2025 OSU is off the schedule, and you don't see that. So you kind of miss those roots and traditions a little bit. But as far as I mean, money's king. So what's going to happen when you bring the USC, UCLA, Washington? I mean, it's going to bring a ton of money to this conference, and I mean, what school is not going to want to go after that? So I mean, I get the premise of it. There's some things I don't like, but I also think there's gonna be a lot of good football that we're gonna be able to watch. So I like that aspect. So I'm kind of in the neutral area, but in all, I mean, it's just gonna no one's stopping it. So kind of accept it and move on.
Yeah, I mean, I said like as a neutral. My example I used last time was like as a neutral fan, it's great. Being a team in the conference, it's already hard enough in the Big Ten, especially the Big Ten East. I mean, we're getting rid of divisions, but you're adding in 4 very quality programs. But like, if you're on your bye week, you could be watching a big noon kickoff of Ohio State, USC, an afternoon of Penn State, Oregon, and then a nightcap of like Michigan, UCLA. I mean, that's an unbelievable slate,
No, I 100% agree. So yeah, it's exciting. But hopefully that keeps some of the traditions. And I mean, I heard I don't know how accurate, but the 12-team playoff. I don't know if that is a possibility in the future.
Yeah, 12-team is confirmed for next season. They're going to rework the whole automatic bid thing, as there's no longer a Pac-12. I believe we're at a Pac-4 at the moment. So they're going to rework that whole system. And yeah, so it's going to probably be some auto bids. And the weirdest thing is, I'm glad I got a Michigan State guy. I'm rethinking this, is the way the schedule is hypothetically planned out is only one protected rival, which would mean Michigan State would not play each other every year, which is even crazier than Michigan State not playing Ohio State. So I think they're going to have to try to figure out a way to do it, because I think their idea is you play, a home and away every 8 years. I think it is. So every 4 years you will play a team minimum. Actually, the other way around. I think it's every 2 years, because right now it's 18 teams. So you have 9 conference games. So you play every team 8 times and then one protected rival. So in your 4-year career, you'd play at every stadium. But then you lose games like every other year you play Michigan State. That would suck, especially for the team that lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Saturday, September 30th at Iowa. This game is TBD. Now, since I've predicted this, I'm recording these a little bit spread out. So sorry for the I would say, what is that? Contingency or communication here. But Cade McNamara has been hurt since I've recorded a few of these. And he had an interview clip that went very viral where one of the Des Moines reporters, whatever, she was like, "So how are you feeling?" He goes, "I'm progressing. That's all I want to say on that," which is terrifying if I'm an Iowa fan. But if I'm a Sparty, I have to play them there. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa's got always a good defense, so you gotta look out for that. But yeah, I mean, we need to, Iowa's it's gonna be a tough game on the road, but you gotta have that one. I mean, I just don't see, you can't be dropping to Iowa and with the schedule we have. I mean, I think we have the 3rd hardest schedule in the country. Those games, I mean, they're gonna be a tough opponent, but those teams you gotta find a way to win. So I'm hoping that Iowa's one of those, just find a way, grind it out and get it done. And if McNair's out, that's a bonus, and I like that.
I will say Mel Tucker's actually had some pretty good surprise wins. I would say he's he's one of the better coaches against the spread and outright as an underdog. So I would not be surprised. And it's TBD, but if we know one thing, the Big Ten loves nothing more than screwing over Michigan State. So that's gonna be a night game. There is no advantage about that one. You get a week off to start October. And the second week of October 14th, at Rutgers at noon. I've had one Michigan State fan say this was a loss, just to let you know where their thought is on the whole season.
I mean, I know Rutgers kind of team you overlook. So, and at Rutgers, I can see how it could go down. But again, you got to win. And I'm going in at this point, assuming that we have either Noah Kim or Kane Hauser, who has established himself as a solid quarterback. So I'm banking on these lower level games that you have the guy at QB1 that can get these done, regardless of how the defense is. As long as they get the timely stops, I think that you got to beat Rutgers. I don't see a loss there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Noah Kim. The game actually we watched a little bit together at one of the bars for the Ohio State Michigan State game. Obviously it was bad, but Noah Kim played in the 4th quarter and almost brought a cover back. I mean, he was playing out of his mind. And I know Ohio State secondary isn't the best, but I mean, in terms of Big Ten teams, it's pretty good. So then we have the big one, October 21st. I will be in attendance in Spartan Stadium, TBD, but we know it's a night game. It's been announced, which will be very fun for all of us involved. Unfortunately, probably a long night for the East Lansing police, but the game's the game.
It'll be buzzing.
The game's the game. How do we feel about this one?
Not good, to say the least. I mean, you guys have a wagon of a team right now, a wagon.
Yeah.
But also I like when Michigan has the hype. I honestly am okay with that, because they sometimes underperform. But you guys are a wagon. Any rivalry game's gonna get greasy. And I think our defensive line is our strong point, and you guys got a good offensive line running back. So I think that's gonna be some dog fights there. But yeah, I think it goes to halftime close. I mean, I think you pull away eventually, but I mean, I think it's good. It'll be a game for a little bit. I mean, I'm optimistic that we somehow stun everybody, stun the world. It's not like it's a crazy thing with these rivalry games and a night game at Spartan Stadium, but yeah, I'm gonna go with hopefully a close and I want to say
Iconic.
not like a loss that you can kind of be like, okay, I mean, it
A moral
was
victory.
the better team won that day. It's kind of one of those losses.
Got it. Yeah. Spread's at 20 right now, which terrifies me because I don't know what the stat is, but it's like whenever Michigan's over like a 14 to 20 point favorite, we lose. I mean, last time in COVID, we were at a 27.5 point favorite and you all went out, right? So
Yeah,
again,
Rocky Lombardi.
the worse you guys are, the better it's going to happen. Like I remember I was joking. I was like, if you do lose to Rutgers, I'll be on full panic mode because that means you're going to beat us. But I agree. I always take Michigan State against the spread against Michigan. I think you guys have covered like every time because we never blow you guys out like that. I mean, Harbaugh will want to because he's on like the biggest FU tour of all time this year with against the NCAA and everybody involved. But who knows, man? I don't know. I just hope everyone has a good time and no shenanigans like last time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a good one. I mean, but Michigan's a wagon. This is a year, but if we could throw that off the tracks, I love that.
It'd be very fitting if Michigan goes 14-1 and wins the national championship but loses to you guys. That's just how it would happen.
Fine.
You know it
That's
would.
fine.
And you
That's
guys,
fine.
again, you guys would have no problem with that.
Well, we won. It's not like we're fucking winning this thing.
October 28th, the week after the Michigan game, which I believe Mel Tucker is undefeated in games after the Michigan game at Minnesota. Now, this would be a tough game. Everyone would be acting like it's a tough game. But again, Mel Tucker, I mean, again, last year with half his defense suspended due to Tunnel Gate, they still pulled out a win against a very, very good Illinois team. So,
exactly. I'm gonna go with a win here. I think if you lose against Michigan, or even pull the upset somehow, depending on what the record's looking at, like I guess more of like a loss against Michigan, you gotta bounce back. So I'm assuming like if you look at the odds, maybe lose that Michigan game, you gotta bounce back to Minnesota. I think they can do that. I mean, it's gonna be another tough game. I mean, as any Big Ten games can be, but I think you gotta pull that one out.
yeah, for sure.
But I would say potential loss for sure.
Yeah, no Mo Ibrahim this year. He's on the Lions, thankfully, so that won't be running all over the floor like he was last time. Up next, we've got Nebraska at home. Matt Rule and gang brings the squad over. Jeff Sims, electric dual threat quarterback. We'll see how he does against the Michigan State defense. What are we thinking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers?
Another scary one. I mean, as an MSU fan, you know, I want to say we win every game here. I think we do drop either Minnesota or Nebraska. I don't think we drop both, but I think we there's a chance we drop one. That being said, I think can we beat Nebraska? Yeah, but that's those two back to back are sneaky ones that were. Well, your circle on the calendar is Penn State, OSU, Michigan, and Washington, but you can't forget about Minnesota and Nebraska. You know, so I'm thinking that's more like a sneaky. They gotta be focused. Mel Tucker's gotta get the team in order for these two games to pull out these wins. It's not gonna be easy.
Absolutely. And then we have the game that every Michigan State fan fears, and I would too if they were as mean to you guys as they are every year. I ask Ohio State fans this. I actually asked an Ohio State fan this, and he gave me a pretty good answer, which I won't spoil in this part of the video because I have probably his interview at the end. I was like, what the hell did Michigan State ever do to Ohio State? Because it seems personal every time they play you guys. You know what I mean? They're always running it up. Last year, CJ Stroud was in the entire game, and it was not even close. I mean, Sunday night, what else do they do now? Sunday night, 7:30, NBC, Ohio State's NBC debut. New jerseys as well. They're retiring some guys' numbers. Why? Why is it so mean?
I don't know. I think it probably stems back to those early on D'Antonio years where we were getting them, and a couple
You had a better record than
walk
we
off,
did.
couple walk off field goal. They didn't like those, but yeah. I mean, I don't like when I see that game on the schedule. I don't like it. I mean, it's just again, I guess the quarterback situation is a little bit different this year. I mean, I'm sure by then they got a guy. I just think you gotta make it competitive. I mean, we haven't been looking like a team that this should be the same field as them some years. So you gotta make it competitive. Um, I'm not asking for this easy win. I'm just asking for touchdown within a touchdown. I mean, which depending on how the season is at that point, may be unrealistic or realistic. But you gotta make it competitive. If you're gonna sell me on Mel Tucker continuing on, you gotta keep these games competitive. I mean, I don't see any other way around it. So, yeah, Ohio State, it's got to be a competitive game. Like you got to figure it out. You got to stop. You got to stop them somehow.
Yep. And now we got the crazy one from last year. One of the worst ends of games I've ever seen in my entire life. The battle for the spittoon, which resides in Bloomington, Indiana, which is where the game will be taking place. Michigan State traveling to Indiana Saturday, November 18th. Now, based on the record projection, I believe you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5-ish wins. This is the one that's like, look, we need to clinch some bowl games right here, and I think that you guys will. I really do, and I think that this is the game you do it.
I mean, I agree. Well, we got a kicker now, so
he's pretty good. He's pretty good.
He's got a leg. I heard he's got a leg. I don't know about how his accuracy is, but he's got a leg. And honestly, last year anyone could have won it instead of who we had. So yeah, I mean that game last year. I mean, hopefully it's burning in their memories because you got to get that one back. That was just I was honestly hysterically laughing at one point when we lost. I was just I couldn't believe it. So I mean, you got to get that one back. You got to beat Indiana, and I think they will. So, but yeah, you got to make up for what happened last year.
Now here we have one of the games I think is actually a lot closer, and I've explained why a few times. So I'll do it again real quick. Friday, Black Friday, November 24th, Penn State against Michigan State in Ford Field. Now, I will say it's going to be obviously warmer indoors as it would be outside. Friday night, a lot of people are going to be home with their parents, either recovering or going out, again on Black Friday after Thanksgiving. And a lot of people I know are downtown. There's a big alumni base in the Metro Detroit region. I would imagine more people are going to go to this game. It might be a game time decision for a lot of people, but I think the way I think Penn State season is going to go at this point, they're going to be 9-2. And what are they really playing for? And this could be a Mel Tucker is, 6-5, maybe 5-6, maybe 7-4 or 7-3. Yep. And this could be a unbelievable statement win. Even if you're going like 5 I joke, my one scenario is you'll be 5-7, they're 9-2. And to get bowl eligible, you win this game and to be a huge win. I think you can do it. I'm not super high on Penn State. And I think that this is just like everyone will be watching this game. This is a standalone Friday night game. Some people do dinners on Friday nights. They're crazy people. This is a go out to the bars night. So, all the boys be going down to the bars and we could probably be at Harry's or something, or even run in there and go see what's up. But I think it's going to be a sellout. It's going to be a ton of Michigan State fans. I think it's going to be the biggest atmosphere they've had in a long time. I think they pull the upset. I know I'm crazy. I think I definitely could see it happening.
No, I mean, I agree. Upset. The way, again, when I was looking at the schedule, you have Washington, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. I think for Mel Tucker to have a successful year, you gotta get 1 or 2, and Washington and Penn State is that 1 or 2. So yeah, you end the season. Hopefully, at the time they're looking at, I like 6-5 at that for that game, and you get that 7-5, which I said I'll be satisfied if the 4 losses are competitive. But I think he's at the end of the season, depending on how we are and what record we have, that's a must win for him for just his reputation, his job, his everything. I think he needs that one. Kind of depending on where you're at. So Yeah, I think you can see upset there, especially at Ford Field. It's gonna be buzzing. All right, and it's at Black Friday. So yeah, I think they can pull that one out. It's gonna be tough, but it's doable.
I would agree completely. And yeah, that's the type of game where it's like either we're gonna make a bowl game or it's gonna be a real bowl game. Because right now the projection is you're playing a MAC team in the quick lane bowl, whatever they call it now, and in Little Caesars, and that'd just be embarrassing, frankly.
Yeah.
So, but hey, it'd be an upgrade on last season. Any players to watch for? Anything that we're missing as non-Michigan State fans that you're like looking forward to this season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see QB1. Noah Kim or Kane Hauser. I heard it's been a great duel in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see this defensive line. We got at some transfers that with some weight. We got whatever Adelaide. I can't not good with the names from A&M, and then we got this guy from Colorado. Just hopefully be our wall on the defensive line. I think it's Jalen Sammy from Colorado, who's he's a tank from what I heard, and then the A&M transfer. So those guys, since last year we were riddled with injuries and suspension, we didn't have the guys to keep going. Now we should have a full line with extras and weight. So that matters when you're when you're playing 4 straight snaps or rotating in and going in with fresh guys every couple. It wears down on the offense. So I'm excited to watch the defensive line. And potential new starter like freshman like Bai Jovi. I don't know how much he's gonna see the field, but I think he'll probably get some reps in. And I'm excited for Nathan Carter. I think I saw some training videos. He looks like a dog.
Yeah.
Hopefully it translates. But I'm excited to see him. Trey Mosley at wide receiver 1. Should look for a breakout year and along with some secondary guys to get their touches in. But yeah, I mean, there's some positives, there's some question marks, but I'm really excited for the quarterback and the change of scenery there. And then I'm excited, hopefully, to get a run game going because it couldn't get much worse than last year.
As a Michigan fan, I got to ask the question: what's the temperature of the seat underneath Mr. Mel Tucker? Well, what does he need to do this year? What would could you, if you were the GM, obviously no GM in college, but you know what I mean. What would make you what would make you happy? What would you expect? What's the bare minimums? What were things you'd fire? Just quickly thoughts on that.
Well, I would say looking back for me, I've been following a fan, and I know kind of what's going on a little bit. I expect 7-5. I mean, I know Vegas has us over 5.5. I already hammered that. I expect 7-5. I honestly think a bad season is 6-6. To be honest, I mean, you get a bowl game, but that's not for this program. The way the money they got, what they're paying them, they should be seeing 6-6 after a 5-7 season. I would say a satisfied, high, kind of like a reach, but can happen would be 8-4. I'd say 8-4, which sounds crazy. If he go 8-4, I think he buys himself a little more time. I think 7-5 with really good losses, like close losses, also. But if you can't go 7-5, 6-6 and get blown out by Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. Well, you can't, and that's when the hot seat gets really hot. So I mean, I think it's warming up right now. All right, I mean, I like what he's been saying at the press meetings. I think he is learning. I mean, Big Ten, going to Big Ten football. I mean, I know everyone says SEC, but Big Ten football is still right there with the pressure. I think he's learning, and I hope that he makes sure the judgment. I've not given up on him. I'm giving him this year. But I think if he doesn't prove at least some positive stuff, that's when it gets dicey.
Yeah, I'd be disingenuous if I wasn't saying that I liked him as well. I remember when he got the hire, it was me and your dad, and I think like Dylan or something. We were walking in the Village Grill, and I was like, "Oh shit!" My exact line was, "Oh shit!" I'm like, "This guy's good." So, I still think he can figure it out. I think you're starting to realize you need to recruit some in-state guys at Michigan State. The kind of identity Michigan State is, the guys that Michigan is too good for is the guys you can help coach up. And then with his national presence, you can start sprinkling in some 5-stars and make some things happen. Because Nick Marsh, the kid from River Rouge, had some really good plays in the big game against Belleville. So guys like that are what you need. Those 3 stars in Michigan, an under-recruited state as is. Getting some of those guys, flipping those guys and coaching them up. Those are the type of things you exactly need. And again, he can go into the portal. Michigan State's got one of the better NILs out there. I know he was complaining about it, but every coach does. Listen, Ryan Day was complaining about it. Nick
It wasn't a good look after his contract to complain with NIL, but
the whole point is he's just like, look, I need people to spend more money, and it's what it is. People are acting like he's crying poor. It's not what it is. You got 2 billionaires that hate each other. You can play them off each other, which they've done very well. And I'm actually thinking Michigan State can start doing pretty well. They're starting to get in a lot of, with recruiting, right? You get to a point. A lot of these guys that they're not getting a lot of the top guys, but they're choosed over, Florida and Michigan State. And that's the next eventual step is you go from the guys that are almost getting to getting, because, you start getting
like David
results in the field.
yesterday.
Exactly. Right. But the fact that you're in it on a 5-star defensive line, Michigan has no 5 stars either. All right. Like that's what it is. Right. So the fact that you're even in the discussion there is pretty good. So, that's what we have. Any closing thoughts?
I'm excited for college football to be back. Just watching those Notre Dame USC blowouts, I was like, still like, this is awesome. So we're back. We're back. I'm excited. But yeah, I think I'm optimistic. Maybe kind of a false sense of optimism, but I believe that it will be an improvement year. And definitely Mel Tucker's like, is he gonna stick around or is he not it? I think that's one of these years.
Hey, listen, man, it's a snap has not been played yet. You are legally allowed to say you're going 12-0 if you want to. God forbid we're doing with the Lions too. So, thank you for hopping on. I'm sure we'll get you along soon for some hockey coverage coming up here soon. Yeah. And thank you for joining.
Oh, of course, love them coming on.
Of course. And now we bring in Zach So, yet another Spartan. Got a lot of them on right now. A good, knowledgeable man on the Twitters. Good follow for Michigan State and some extra little golf content, even some video game content as well. I'm not in that world as much, so him and TK, your go-tos there. But yeah, nice to have Zach on, and we'll just hop right into it straight away. Boom.
Thanks, Blake.
Yeah, no
worries.
Yeah, we'll definitely get him on some more. Yeah, for sure. Especially for some college basketball stuff as well, because that might be a little bit better. But we'll see based on the course of this video.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very optimistic season, a bounce back season for sure. There's a lot of things that went wrong last year that, some was on our part and some was just, out of the blue injuries, losing some of our starters for the season, having to move people around to unknown positions was most definitely seemed like an issue. And I think there's a lot more optimism, especially taking out some of the people that, not everybody was confident in, and having a little bit more optimism with fresher faces, almost having brand new restart from phase 1. So it'll be nice.
Absolutely. So looking at here, we got game 1 this upcoming Friday. I believe I'm planning on this video coming out on Tuesday. So we've got a few days in between to get your bets in after this one. The Central Michigan Chippewas, again, as I've said a few times already, have a pretty good record against Michigan State, all things considered, the last few meetings, but they don't nearly have the horses this year. Obviously, the quarterback Richardson is now down at FAU backing up Casey Thompson, which is wild. I found that out the other day. My dad's a CMU grad, and we were chopping up about it. And he's like, "Where's that Richardson kid?" I'm like, "Dude, he disappeared." But yeah, 7:00 under the lights Friday night, Fox Sports 1. What are we thinking?
I think it's a win. I think it's going to be a little bit slower to kind of feel it out, but I feel like the defense is going to be much improved this season. Moving players like Jacoby Woodman back to his natural position, taking some players, moving them around and bringing in some good transfers. I know that especially the defensive line, we have 2 or 3 new guys that will be able to change it up a little bit. I think the defense will win us this game for sure. The offense, bringing in a quarterback battle with the unknown of who's going to start, I think it's a good thing to to rely more on our defense, because that is what was falling apart in the last 2 seasons. I mean, that kind of held us back a little bit injuries wise, like I said before. But looking into this year, I mean, let's watch the defense the first game and see what happens. I think it's going to be a nice win. I think we'll be comfortable. I think in the second half, it'll just be like Western last year, where we just start to pull apart. I mean, that's just what happens when you play the schools like that. Am I nervous? I mean, it's the first game of the season. Everybody's nervous in the first game, but looking at it, I think it will be a comfortable one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's, as we know, with these smaller Michigan schools, it's, it's their Super Bowl. They get all off season to talk about it and work for it. So, I mean, if anything that they're going to give you is going to be in that first half of that first game. So it is, honestly, it's almost sneakily better a game you'd want to see as opposed to like Michigan playing ECU.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Week 2, 3:30, Big Ten Network. Richmond, even the biggest Sparty haters out there,
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the game where if the quarterback's decided week 1, either he keeps going in week 2 or we switch it up, and this is kind of where we can change it up a little bit, try a different quarterback if it one's. I mean, it seems like the coaches think that the battle's so close that if we try week 1 and it's just like, okay, this is what happens. I mean, they might switch at halftime for all I know in week 1. Mm-hmm. But if they have a clear starter on week 1, I would say that week 2, same thing, and we kind of just cruise through that game.
Yeah, I know.
There's not a whole lot of doubt in that one. I mean, yeah, it's probably like a 90-10.
Oh, absolutely, at minimum. I think ESPN, I'm looking at it here, as at 98. So I know Michigan got a lot of smack from it. I don't hate the idea of starting, if you've got such a tight battle with Ohio State too, even Alabama, start one guy one week, one guy next week, if you have the opportunity to. So some of those teams actually play some teams early, but Central and Richmond is pretty good get through, because the next few games is a little bit of a gauntlet before your bye week. You've got Washington coming up first. This is I think I've probably made this joke every time I've talked to someone, but I'll do it again because it's fun. This is the obligatory, Michigan State fans bye Peacock game. Washington, Michigan State. Washington comes in after last year's home and home. Michigan didn't actually play their home and home, which I would like to note, but it is what it is. Saturday, September 16th, 5:00 on the Peacock.
Strange kickoff time. I think that this is going to be the first test. I think this is a game where, I mean, everybody knows when we travel to the West Coast, and it's going to be like that in the future. A lot of Big Ten teams struggle. I mean, we've struggled against Arizona State in the past when we traveled there. I mean, we went there last year, and our team we thought was going to be very, very good. And I mean, we just kind of laid an egg. And I think this is the game where we can bounce back. I mean, they lost their starting running back, and I hope he heals quickly. I mean, that was 13 touchdowns in the season. They do have like one of the top 3 receiving cores in the nation, and Michael Penix has always had our number. And I think this is the game where we can bounce back a little bit from what we saw in the past. But I think this is probably a loss, but it's going to be a lot closer than people expect. Realistically. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
I think it's more of a toss-up than people imagine. I think they're a little in the overhyped department right now. I mean, their rankings kind of rated about 10, and I would say that they're more of a realistic mid-20s team. I wouldn't say that they're, levels above the rest, but when you have teams like, I mean, Oregon could bounce back this year. USC, I mean, we already saw them play one game, but you never know with that type of conference. They could just beat up on each other and kind of finish in that 9-3 area. So I think that's one of those games that it should be a bounce back from last season. That's the first true test at home, which, I mean, it's kind of a night game. It'll be rowdy, but I think that's a close loss for sure.
Now, curious to get your take on this, because we might as well talk about it. This is a conference game next year. How are we feeling?
I mean, that's going to be the interesting thing. Like I said before, I mean, the conference aspect of it, I mean, we're having to travel to the West Coast. It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, I think it's week 3. They've got, I think it's like Arizona State is playing like UCF or something. Mm-hmm. There's like 3 or 4 different crazy matchups, and someone's like, dude, these are all conference games next year.
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, it's most definitely going to be a mess for a while. Since the schedule isn't out again, we won't know who we play next year, but I mean, we could see another 2 more years playing Washington in a row.
Yeah, and I was even mentioning the other day that with the potential of 18 teams, if not more, because I know right now they're talking about with this is just not them being me. When they're talking about was it Stanford, Cal, and SMU joining the ACC. I'm not a math major, but that's an odd number. And there's one team that wants out of the ACC really badly.
Absolutely.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah, we're not gonna say names, but I mean,
Yeah.
18 will turn into 20 eventually, probably.
Yeah, and then you add one that's 19, and who else is out there? Who's an independent program that wants to win the
Yeah.
Big Ten really badly? I
Yeah,
say
I wish they would.
UConn, but everyone else says Notre Dame. But
I like that team with the weird yellow and the hideous green.
Hey, listen, you ran them off the they ran you off the schedule after that fake field goal.
Yeah,
So
they're toast. They don't want it anymore. They're scared to pay both Michigan schools at this point.
Oh, for sure. Piggybacking off of the Washington game, we've got Washington light, in my opinion. Maryland at home, 3:30. That secondary that will be definitely tested against Washington. Could be a bounce back spot here for Michigan State, big time. 3:30 here. No television network yet, but I imagine it'll be Big Ten or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a guess and say it's probably like a Big Ten or an afternoon game. With all the stuff moving around, it's hard not to pick one of those networks. But I think this is the biggest game in the first half of the season for turning the team around. I mean, the defense should be much improved as long as we're still healthy at this point. I think after a close loss to Washington, this should be the bounce back game. I think this is a win. This will be the first game where the offense proves something and they go out and score 35, 40 points. And this will be the one that turns our season around. You know, this is what everybody's looking forward to. And I just think that they've lost so much up front and they just need to see a new defense out of us. And towards the end of the season, I mean, if you watch our Illinois game, the second half versus Michigan, although they scored 29 or whatever points, I mean, we were holding them to field goals all game. So I think this is the big one, and I think this is a win. It'll be kind of close, but I think we can pull away there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, on the schedule, you've got, not trying to jump ahead too far. You got like baked in about 4.5 wins. You need games like this, or the swing game should probably be
this is
underdog.
The big swing game in the first half. And
absolutely.
Like I said, this is going to be the true test.
If you're 3-1 or God forbid 4-0, going into, hypothetically speaking, this game here at Iowa, which is, of course, the Big Ten loves nothing more to do than screw you guys. It says TBD, but I will bet every dollar in my bank account it's going to be a night game.
It already got announced. I'm pretty sure it's on Peacock, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it going to be a night game? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It has
that would be horrible.
I said that Michigan, again, Big Ten loves nothing more than put Michigan State in a locker. I know it's happening.
I'm not a huge night game at Iowa fan, but it's probably going to happen.
God, no.
But I think this is the game where we have a whole lot of zero information on Iowa's offense. If they show up and play like they have in the past against some big time schools, they'll win. But I mean, taking the former Michigan players and moving them over to Iowa, the player that not only lost to Michigan State in his last game that he played against them, should be interesting. And their defense is always tough. I would say this is probably the biggest toss-up game on the schedule. I would say I'm going to give it
double digits.
I'm going to give it a loss for now, but I would say this is probably the biggest 50-50 game of the season.
Yeah, first team to double digits probably wins this one. I mean, this is going to be a sickos only committee type over where it's going to be like, 39,
Iowa will not throw the ball.
39, 35, and you're like, wait, how the hell is it this low? But that Cade McNamara clip that came out is troubling, to say the least. When it's like, hey, how's your injury going? He goes, I'm progressing. That's all I'll say on that. Next question. What? I'd be freaking out if I'm an Iowa fan.
Yeah, I would say that's the closest game, probably the biggest 50-50, depending on how they start, because you never know with Iowa. I mean, they could be in the Big Ten championship game one year or laying an egg the next.
Yeah, like I'm getting new to this whole Twitter and online thing, and granted, the few basically the 2 seasons I've been on, Michigan's been unbelievable. People just forget that upsets happen and teams get good.
Yeah.
TCU was projected to go 5-7 last year and then went to the national championship game. So
the last
that's
time
what I'm saying. A lot of people are going to be on your ass and being like, "Iowa's a flip game," blah blah blah.
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, the last time we played them in a big game, it was 13-9.
Yeah,
like, seriously,
it's college football. Anything happens, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
last year, look, I was watching a YouTube compilation the other day, trying to hype myself up for the season. Number one, it was like biggest upsets. The first one I saw was Washington, Michigan State. I was like, biggest upset. It was Michigan State was like a 10-point favorite. I'm like, why couldn't the opposite happen this year?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. Yeah. I mean, you're home now.
You play to win the game.
Yeah. Now that we're home, you never know.
I don't want to say that I might get a bowl ban on this podcast,
Yeah.
but going forward, September, no, September. That was the end of September. We're now
Yeah,
on
that's the end of September.
October 7th.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Bye.
Yeah.
Don't lose in the bye. It's tough to
No,
do.
you can't
Teams
you
have
can't
done it
lose in the
before.
bye.
Teams have done it before.
Yeah, just don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt.
October 14th at Rutgers, noon. Potential trap game, maybe coming off a bye. I would say probably not, but
No.
noon in Piscataway, things happen.
I think we roll. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be the one where, after coming off a bye week, depending on the week before, the week before being Iowa, depending on how hurt the team is or how roughed up we are, I think we just roll. I think that's one of those games where, like every team that they play, they score 10 or 20 points in the first half, and everybody's just up in arms about the fact that it's a close game, and then the second half, the better team just rolls, and I think we're the better team most definitely this year.
Yeah, for sure. And we're gonna get to the point where we're gonna use. I'll probably do a video on this later in the year. We got to talk about Shiano and some of these other legends. I mean, I would have had Pat Fitz on that. R.I.P. Pat Fitz.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Allen is up there too. These guys that have been there for a while. It's like, hey, do something for me lately. Like even Tom Allen at least had a 10-win season, right? Rutgers hasn't done a thing since coming back in the Big Ten. So
yeah, and it's rough because it's not just one sport, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it's
it's gonna get worse. Yeah, Rutgers is a basketball school to me right now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Just like Miami.
Crazy.
Then we got the big one, October 21st, Paul Bunyan at night. I'll be in attendance.
I'll be in attendance.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole crew will be in attendance. It'll be a great gathering.
The entire Metro Detroit region will be there.
Yeah, the entire Metro Detroit region will be there, and I would say I'm looking forward to it, but I think it will be the biggest bloodbath game of the season, and I think it will be a mess. I don't mean off the field. I mean on the field. Everything's probably going to stay in line. I would hope so, but I think it's going to be one of those games where it's just a whole lot of fumbles, a whole lot of interceptions, and it could be a low scoring game. It could be a really high scoring game, but I think it's going to be kind of like last year where, the better team at the end pulls away. And I would say it's a loss right now, but you never know in a conference game like that. I think the spread is way too high in my eyes.
Yep.
For Michigan to go on the road against arguably their second biggest rival. I mean, it's hard not to say that we're up there with Ohio State for the fact that, this game has always been competitive, no matter how bad a team is, no matter how good a team is. But I think like a 35-21 game could be on the radar type thing.
Yeah. We both know as young guys, especially me being a Michigan fan, Michigan State's been the closer rivalry majority of my life. And
Absolutely.
You've actually had our number for majority of my life. So, I'm just being straight up. I'm a straight shooter. It gets me in trouble with my own fan base, but it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of those games where one team could overlook it and it could be a mess. But, it's going to be closer than people think.
Yeah, thankfully, Michigan's schedule is very nice. Not only the whole season, but we have Indiana at home into Michigan State into a bye week. So it's pretty nice that if we had had like a game before that was kind of tricky, it would be an absolute nightmare. But thankfully, it's Indiana at home.
You got to respect the back-to-back Big Ten champs. They're the biggest rivals in our eyes, and it's just you got to respect the fact that they retain so many players, and you never know what's going to happen.
I like you brought up the fumbling thing. I think we're due for a mud fest game. We haven't had a rainy Michigan State one. Usually it's every 5 years. We haven't had an absolute monsoon in a while.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I'd love that.
You guys will love it. And again, the way that both teams, I assume, are going to run the football this year, this game's going to go over quick. So
absolutely,
that's just my guess. We saw in week 0 the way the clock ruined things, in my opinion.
Absolutely, I think that's it's not only bad for the game. I think they need to go back to the old clock ways, but we don't care about your commercials. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. And
I want more football.
But hey, yes, sir. After that, we've got Minnesota on the road. I've prefaced the other two Michigan State predictions we've done so far. People forget after all the shenanigans off the field by both teams in the Michigan State game. You had a very crippled team. You went into what was a very, very good Illinois team last year. You kicked our ass.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the same case here. I really do. I think this is going to be that game where everybody's thinking Minnesota is way back on top, but there's many, many teams in the Big Ten West I feel that are better than them. I would say Iowa, even though they're unproven, is probably better than where they're at because they lost Mo and their quarterback which is the biggest thing. But I feel like this is a game where we should most definitely win. If our offense performs as how I'm expecting it to, I think this is a game where we win. I think it will still be close because it's on the road, but I mean the game against them we got blown out last year, but it just wasn't our day. That's one of those games where it's just not your day, and this is a good bounce back season for that.
Absolutely. And then the week after, November 4th, we've got Nebraska at home. Jeff
Yeah.
Sims and company come to town. How are we feeling about Jeff Sims?
Yeah, that would be a good one. I think that it's at home. It makes me a little less scared for the fact that we're not playing in a hostile environment like Nebraska. There's no team that sells out better than them right now. They've done it the most consecutive years out of any school. I think that's another one. I think we start to roll right there, and then the train stops rolling right after that. I think the next game is just going to be the toughest game. And after the last 2 seasons, I don't see how we beat Ohio State.
Yeah, that's the next game on the road. They're wearing jerseys at night, NBC, everything that you could think of.
That's a game where I'll be in attendance as well. It should be interesting, but I mean, unless some miracle happens, I mean, I don't want to doubt my own team, but it's just rough to see. It's rough to see what happens against them. I mean, before Michigan beat them twice in a row, they were having a rough time with them too. It's hard against a team that has the best receiver, arguably the best receiver in the country, and a team that can easily put up 50, 60 points a game. I mean, they're built to beat teams like SEC teams, while Big Ten teams are a little bit behind in my eyes still. That's what happens when you see, even in the playoffs last year. I mean, they were there with a team that destroyed TCU all the way to the end. It's just hard. It's hard to bet against them
Absolutely.
in an idea like that.
And then we got the revenge game from last season, one of the most pitiful displays of football I've ever watched. Most of my friends just said they just laughed at it. The battle for the spittoon in Bloomington, Indiana, Saturday, November 18th. How are we feeling?
The spittoon's got to come back home. It has to. There's no question about it.
Did you know it was a trophy before last year?
Oh,
I had
absolutely.
no idea.
Yeah, there's some weird trophies. Just wait till we get to the last game. It's my favorite trophy, but it's the best one. But the spittoons most definitely got to come home. That's the big one. That I mean, they seem to be on a down year. It's just going to be. I mean, they're typically on a downer year, but this is probably one of their poorest teams in my eyes in a while. And I just don't feel like this team will win many games against bigger opponents. So this is just a typical win for me.
For sure. And then we got the special game, Black Friday.
Yeah.
All of Metro Detroit will be in attendance. I would imagine Ford Field will be absolutely rocking. Again, absolutely. I'm on record. I think it's a very good thing. This is for Michigan State. This game is there. Sucks for the students and the seniors and everything. But again, I said most of the students are going to be probably in the region anyway.
Absolutely. I mean,
majority
of the fan base, the alumni, they all live out on the east side. I mean, it's the number one most visited, most attended school. They just came out today and said the number one school in Michigan with the most kids from Michigan. I mean, 10 or 11,000 new kids this year, with like 8,000 of them just from Michigan. So it's going to be a lot of people back at home for a big game. The battle for the Land Grant Trophy, which is the size of a freaking wall. It's the hardest thing to carry in the world, I bet. But I think that's an interesting game. I think people are looking at Ohio State, looking at Michigan as the beaters of Penn State. 10-2 has kind of been their record for a little while now. But I think this is the year where Penn State, in my eyes, pulls through. I think they are going to figure it out. I mean, they have a young quarterback, but they have one of the best, if not the best, running back in the nation. So I think it's going to be close for the first half, but I think Penn State pulls away. So realistically, I just see 1, 2, 3, 4, 7-5, probably 9-3, 7-5, but I could also see it going 6-6, anywhere in that range. So 6-6 to 9-3, I think is a realistic goal. There's a couple games. If our defense, like I have hoped, have brought it back, which I totally believe and have faith in our coaching staff to bring it back. I mean, there's a lot of young guys, but the young guys that have played in the past, unfortunately, a couple of them got hurt last year, but we're back to where we need to be. I mean, there's 12 offensive linemen or more that will rotate in when we were down to 7 or less last year. And it's going to be a fresh new wide receiver group. Montori Foster, Antonio Gates Jr. Shout out Antonio Gates for being an absolute legend. Tyrell Henry, Trey Mosley, and then the big thing everybody wants to talk about is our quarterback battle. You know, Noah Kim, Katen Hauser. I mean, they're gonna battle for it. I think Sam Levitt will even be in that question mark. He's a freshman, so it's going to be a little more interesting to see how they battle with him. But I mean, the room's still wide open. Somebody's got to go out there and grab it, and I think there's a lot of room for success this season. I think it's realistic. I mean, 8-4, 7-5 will probably be where we end up. But I mean, this is one of those schools and one of those teams where, I mean, I give it all my faith. You know, it's my home. I live here. It's not like it's going to be unrealistic for what we see every day. And it sounds like we're turning the path finally in year 4 of Coach Tucker to go back to where he was in year 2. So
yeah,
it should be interesting.
Now I got to ask the obligatory question as a Michigan fan.
Yeah.
What's the status and the temperature of his seat according to Mr. Zach? What do you need? What does he need to do? What would get him back to normal, and what would get him out of here?
I don't think his seat is any hotter than any other coach. I think it's all rumors through the media. I just think he's doing what he can with what he's got, and that's kind of been the problem for the last year. The injuries, like I said before, it takes a toll being probably a head coach from the sounds of it, to having to make work with young guys that don't have experience in games, and kind of having to move defenses around and try to make something happen with what you got. I think there's no question mark. He's the coach for the school. And I mean, he'll go out there and prove it. I mean, in my eyes, 7-5, 8-4 this year is a massive success. And getting back to a bowl game, I would love to go play Auburn in a bowl game right now. Seriously, Peyton,
that'd be fun.
The Peyton Thorne beatdown game would be better than anything I could think of right now, because I mean, he gave his time for our school, but I mean, it's time to move on. And wouldn't that be a crazy bowl game? The narrative.
What if you do good and Florida State does bad? A little Keon Coleman action.
Oh man, Florida State's winning the ACC. I want to hear it.
Ooh, I like that. But yeah, I've always said, man, like with the playoff expanding, especially, but right now, even with the playoff in place, I would have way too much fun with the bowl committee and picking bowl games. Like I would just look for storylines. Like which coaches hate each other, which kids transferred, who can we get to mess with who? Like you even said like an Auburn and
the Peyton
Auburn Michigan State would be awesome.
It'd be very interesting to see what would happen. It'd be like the young QB versus the former gunslinger type action.
Yeah. Like if you could get like LSU, Arizona State. I know that Arizona State has a bowl ban, but like the way they were like ripping.
Yeah, I was trying to understand that, and then I was just like, that this is what they have to do, and it's unfortunate for those players because they have to sit out now and watch everybody else play. I mean, it wasn't given that they're getting a bowl game, but I mean, if they make it to that record, it's going to be unfortunate for those players for sure.
Yeah, I've got 3 random scenarios here, all hypotheticals, of course. We hypotheticals only on this show.
Yeah.
One guy bought a burger. One guy was watching kids work out during COVID, and one guy was offering players up to $100,000 in cash in McDonald's. Now, there's 3 different punishments here. One school got a fine, one got their head coach suspended indefinitely /3 games, and one got a bowl game. I want you to guess which one happened. The SEC program got a fine for openly paying and buying players. The Pac-12 team got a bowl ban for watching kids practice in COVID. And the guy that bought a burger is facing a hypothetically indefinite suspension because his 3 games or 4 games even got rejected. The self-imposed 3 games. I don't know. Things to think about, it really is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing I'm looking at right now is just who's going to step up and be past Trey Mosley as the wide receiver 1. I think there's a lot of options out there. I think hot take, we're going to see a couple receivers get a lot of action and break out this year. I think that's the biggest thing that we're going to see, and we're going to see some young guys. One player I've always looked at is Jaron Mangum. He's a running back. He's transferred around. He was originally, when I was in high school, he was a prospect to Michigan State out at, I believe, Cass Tech, if I'm not mistaken. And he's kind of moved around. He went Colorado, USF, and now he's finally back home with his brother, which they play opposite sides of the ball. So there's probably rivalry all the time. But I think he's a player that could break out and bust out 5 or so touchdowns or more and 500 yards as a second or third option. Because I think that the main running back I'm looking forward to is Nathan Carter. I mean, his size and the speed that he's bringing over from UConn. I mean, it's gonna be a sight to see. I mean, Jalen Berger, he's been around. He had, 6 touchdowns last year. I think he grows on that. And the biggest thing we need to go back to is our roots of running the ball. I mean, all the history of Michigan State and having some great running backs, it needs to be brought back. And I think this is the year where we bring it back.
Having human beings on your offensive line does help, which hopefully is going to be a bit more of a thing this year than last.
That was the big thing: is can we get some offensive linemen that are healthy?
Yes. Do you have anybody alive on the O line or in the secondary?
Yeah,
fix either one of those, you should be fine.
Hey, we should be in a lot better spot this year. I'm very happy. I'm very optimistic about the future.
But yeah, I'm just quickly remembering because I know we played UConn last year, and Mr. Carter was the
he got hurt. I know he got hurt really early in the season. So
yeah, he was the backup for UConn. 6 carries, 21 yards, a catch for 9 yards. He was their leading receiver with 9 yards. But yeah, so listen, I mean, he's a workout demon. His photos and videos look pretty sick in the weight room. Of course, it's that type of season. But yeah, that's any closing thoughts? I got a quick little bit here.
No, I think we're looking good. I'm very happy for where we're at, and I hope that 7-5, 8-4. I hope we finish better than that. I think that's just a baseline of where we could be, but I think there's opportunities for higher goals.
All right, sounds great. Well, thank you for hopping on, and we'll definitely get you on soon in the future.
Absolutely.